theyeshiva.net.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I want to give a mazel tov to the Engel family who's here, the father of the Kala, the Zayda from the Kala, the whole Mishpacha, still in the middle of Sheva Brachas. They will sing in Anim's Middas. And welcome everybody else too. Alle Balei Simcha, yeah? Okay, Vu Haltman, we're holding in the middle of the Maimer about the Mekosheish, 84. Huh? Yeah. 84, or Mem Beis, column 3. On top it says Shlach. The line starts with V'zu mebchinas Sovav Kalam. And like 15 lines from the bottom. First column, 84. The line starts with V'zu mebchinas Sovav Kalam. The Balatanya explained to us that there are two states, two layers in Ava, in love. One, he says, is an Ava that's rooted in Mamalik Kalalman, in his Lashon, in his language, and one is an Ava, love rooted in Sovav Kalalman. The difference, briefly, is the Ava of Mamalik Kalalman is essentially a love of self, of the ultimate self, the true self, but it's a love of self. As Moshe Rabbeinu puts it, La'avas Hashem Elokecha ki hu chayecha. Haslib zich. The real zich, the haslib zich, you love yourself, the real self, the true self. You love your life. A person loves life. You love your life, and therefore you love life. What is the truth of life? The truth of life is the divine of life. As he puts it, Hu atzmai hachayis shebekirbai.
You love yourself to love life, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to love. Part of loving self is love of God. That's what real love of self is. It's not love self, my mishigas and my ego. That's a different type of... right? That's on the contrary, it's not a love of self. That's love of a cover-up of self. Because I don't like myself, I need to like other things. This one falls in love with their suit. What do you have to love your suit for? Because I don't like what's behind the suit. This one has to love their watch. This one has to love their car. In other words, these are all loves that substitute the real love of self. The real love of self is the love of your deepest pnimius. So you don't have to substitute it with other stuff. Sometimes when there's such a void, I hate myself. A person once told me, I said, why do you work so hard? He was a real workaholic, but beyond. The Jews are workaholics, but this was like a mahadrin min a mahadrin. Non-stop, ma'asav ha'ilach, like Hanukkah. He said something very deep. I'm laughing, it's pretty tragic. He said, I never felt needed in my life. I'm going to force my whole company to say, I am needed. I am needed. So it was in a very deep awareness. So in other words, the whole drive was not because he was interested in that issue. It was coming simply to fill a tremendous void that I really feel valueless. So how am I going to prove to myself that I have value? And the answer is, at the board meeting, they're going to say, he's indispensable to the company. Which means whenever my ambition is fueled by that, then I never really know what I want. Because most of my ambitions are just here to fill up a void and get me away from the pain of filling that void. So it could be my whole life I'm pursuing dreams that have nothing to do with my dreams. Am I making myself clear? Anybody relates to this here?
Isn't it for everybody?
Of course, you want to fulfill useful and you want to be valuable and you want to be indispensable to your company and you want tenure and you want to raise. Of course, that's not when it becomes as a substitute because there's no value outside of the compliment that I'm getting from my boss. That's the issue. It's not coming from within. The without replaces the within. You understand what I'm saying?
Families that don't give conscience. Families don't give conscience.
Yes. How would a Russian Jew know about that? About families that don't give compliments? Trust me, there's American families also who have that issue. Russians got their issues, but Americans also have a couple of issues. Different type, yeah. Different type. Okay, listen. Russia, is a unique... between the Tsars and Stalin, they really did a job on Russian society. Tatsache weggenommen von sie, yeah. Yeah. Hitler murdered everybody, and the Russians destroyed everybody inside, right? They destroyed normalcy. They tried. You're here. Sei da. Niet nikavo. Krami Boga adnavo. Ja, ze geht doch zu Jud Thomas bald, so. So that's the first love. Very, very important. La'avas Hashem Elokecha ki hu chayecha. Yud Beis Tammuz was the Chag HaGeula of the Rebbe Rayat in 1927 by Stalin. No, under Stalin. Your section. 27. Tofresh Pei Zayin.
You take the whole population of Russian Jews, let's say in 1930, how many now are from or healthy or whatever, I don't know, probably not too high of a percentage, really.
Listen, they were 70 years under an oppression that people don't realize what happened to them. Generations. It was one of the most strategic wars against Yiddishkeit in history. Beyond mind control. It was... Okay, it's not for now. We could do some lectures on Russian history, but it's worth understanding a little bit. Oh, yeah. So, what are we talking about? Compliments. Okay, compliments. This love of self
is loving Hashem. How does it go with bittul? Instead, everybody wants to feel needy, wants to feel indispensable, and at the same time, they want to have bittul, so it seems to
right. So it's you want to know how it coincides with bittul. So I think the answer to that is depends how we define bittul. If we define bittul literally as the self is worthless, as Moshe says, the bist garnished, and that's an American speaking, not even a Russian. So I guess Americans also have some issues. Not you, but other Americans.
Hey, not me.
So if we define bittul as that, then you're right. The two can't coincide. But this is not a contradiction to bittul. Bittul is the bittul of the ego, the bittul of the separation, the bittul of the self that is not one with the divine. Real bittul means the alignment of self with the true self, not the substitute of self with a fake self. You want to be mevatel that which is toxic in the person, that which is alien to the person, that which separates the person from his true self, from his true core. You get what I'm saying? It's even in halacha that way, by the way. When you say the word bittul in halacha, there's a famous idea, bittul b'shishim. Yeah? A little milk falls into a cholent pot. So there's a din of bittul b'shishim. If the ratio is 60-1, so it gets nullified. Yeah. What's the logic of it? The logic of it is that the majority, especially if it's 60, overwhelms it. It doesn't give it, obviously it's not recognizable anymore. It can't give it any flavor. The milk can't impact the flavor. It's too small. Right? There's a famous, so it's machlokes in Rishonim how you define the mechanism of bittul. The Rosh has a lashon in Masechta Chulin I'm going to say it. Ha-isur nepach liyas k'may ha-heter. Bittul means that the isur is transformed into the heter. Yeah, it's not like the milk is overwhelmed, so we disregard it. No, because of the power of the meat, in terms of the ratio of meat versus milk, ha-isur nepach. It's like the milk is part of the cholent. That's the word bittul. Bittul means it's nullified. He says, what does it mean it's nullified? It becomes part of it. Right? Bottle becomes part of it. So now, the influence of the meat redefines the milk, in terms of practicality at least. We're not going to discuss the chemistry at the moment, but its original quality is gone. Its original quality is gone, at least in terms of kashrus. So if you want to now translate, you say bittul to Hashem. What does that mean? That what? New taitshit up in halacha. That you become part. You become part of Hashem. So that makes you more powerful or less powerful? What do you think? Much more. You're a conduit for the infinite. Not only makes you more powerful, it gives you infinite power. So I'm being mevatel the milk. It becomes part of the meat. So real bittul means, on the contrary, we call it being mevatel. Really, it's the most powerful self-development and self-actualization. But it's divine self-actualization. In halacha, you have a din, shluchai shel adam k'moiseh. Balatanya has a lashon in Likkutei Torah, shluchai shel adam ha'elyon k'moiseh. Adam means a person. But Adam always means also the ultimate Adam. So when the Gemara says in Kiddushin and in many places, Shluchei shel Adam k'moiseh, he says in Likkutei Torah, Parshas Vayikra means Shluchei shel Adam ha'elyon k'moiseh. You're a shliach of the ultimate Adam. What's k'moiseh? You're like him now. The Gemara has a lashon in Shavuos, Eved Melech, Melech. The Eved of the Melech is the Melech. Really? The new king now? Isn't that treason? The answer is no. If he's Eved Melech, he is the Melech. Because his Metzias is an Eved. He's a conduit. He's an Eved for the Melech. That's what real bittul means. Rabbi Litzman, you verstehst a bisschen? Huh? So whenever you hear the word bittul, right?
It empowers you in a good way.
Yeah. It empowers you. You
mentioned the person wants to feel needing, indispensable. This is a very positive word.
Exactly. I heard a word from Michael Savage. You know Michael Savage? Huh? From California.
Savage Nation.
I was in the car, I turned on the radio, and I hear Michael Savage speaking. I'm telling you, Kamoishahu, as he said the word. I never heard it before. I heard this word from Michael Savage. Go figure. I'm listening to the radio and he says, I heard an insight by Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And sometimes when you hear something, his accent, I'm not going to do it at the moment. He says, sometimes you hear something from somebody and you say, wow, this is a man of God. What's the line? That when you were born, it's the day that God said that the world is incomplete without you. There's something about you that the world is incomplete without you. That's what birth means. He says, that's called wisdom. That comes from a great sage. And then he went on to discuss how people need to have this feeling. Okay, so this is what I heard from him. I never saw it anywhere. It's a beautiful word. Birth is God saying that the world is incomplete without you. It's certainly consistent with the Mishnah in Sanhedrin, Chayev Adam Loimar, Shvili Nivra Olam, and Lefichach Nivra Adam Yechidi, to tell you that a person is an Olam Malay, etc., so forth. But what does that mean? That need is not a toxic need. It's a genuine need. It's understanding your indispensability, your value. Chayav Adam Lo B'Shvili Nivra Olam is not about narcissism. The whole world was created for me. Everything is for me, and I could step on everybody and manipulate everybody and exploit everybody, and everybody is here for me. That's not a healthy condition in life. And yet the Mishnah says, B'Shvili Nivra Olam, for me the world was created. But there's two ways of looking at it. Chayav Adam Lo B'Shvili Nivra Olam can mean the whole world was created for me. And therefore I can exploit everybody and nobody even exists outside of me. Basically, I see everywhere a mirror. Wherever I look, I just see a mirror. You're a reflection of me, and you're a reflection of me, and you're a reflection of me. They say that there was a fellow who came to a therapist. And his problem was that everybody looks like his mother. And whoever says anything, it's his mother talking, and it drives him crazy. His mother is very controlling, and wherever he goes, everybody says it's his mother, and he goes crazy. He has these fits of rage as a result. And he says, and his dreams, only his mother. His whole night he dreams about his mother. So the doctor says, so describe to me last night. So he says he dreamt the whole night about his mother telling him this, his mother controlling him, his mother complaining, his mother demanding. And then finally he fell asleep and his mother wakes him up and says, you got to go to the therapist, 9 o'clock appointment, you got to go to the therapist. So he said, I run and I wanted to eat something. So I take a fast, I take a piece of bread and I run here with a cup of water and I'm here. The doctor looks at him, he says, I don't understand. That's called breakfast? So sometimes a person, that's a form of trauma, right? If I'm everywhere, so that I'm living in a house of delusions. You're me, and you're me, and you're me, and everybody is me. We have names for these things. B'Shvili Nivra Olam is the exact opposite. It's the ultimate bittul because the person recognizes his or her indispensability as a shliach of Hashem. And there's something at stake in the universe, in you, because who are you? You're the divine light manifested in the world. And if you're the divine light manifested in this world, your light missing is impacting the whole world. Because Ana Avda de Kutchabrichu. You know the niggin, Ana Avda, Avda de Kutchabrichu, yeah? I'm an Eved of Kutchabrichu. So you start with Ana, but the Ana is defined as Avda de Kutchabrichu. That answers your question. And this answers your question by the Chaim of your daughter. You remember? You asked about Bittel. Ich gewinne ein bisschen nach L'chaim. Okay. Vergessen. Okay.
Very good.
So people,
Mekosheish says the two greatest days in a person's life is the day he's born, the day he knows why.
Yeah. Beautiful. So the two greatest days of a person's life is the day he was born and the day he figures out why he was born. Yeah. And do you figure that out? Do you really figure that out? So lass mal fragen der Schwieger. Huh?
it's always changed.
Huh? The day you figure out why you were born and the day you can embrace it. You can really embrace it. Because sometimes we can't figure out why we were born because it's hard for us to acknowledge it. So there's a lot of blockages, I think. So the ability to really be able to embrace it and go with it. Because sometimes it's too big for our imagination and it's scary. Or it's something that's outside of our comfort zone. So really the ability to be able to embrace it. So this ahava is a tremendous idea. La'avas Hashem alekecha ki hu chayecha. But it's the love of self. But it's the love of the real self, the true self, the divine core. Rabbi Isaac, verstehst was tut sich? Okay. Rabbi Shlomo, you good?
figured out the first thing. Still trying to figure out the second thing.
So that's the love of the ultimate self. Realizing that. Realizing its value, realizing its dignity. As he puts it, it's really part of the person. Because a person loves their life. What is this love? Hu yizbarach hu atzmai hachiyus shaboy. Those are his words. Hu atzmai hachiyus shaboy. Hachayus shabekir boy v'chayev mamish hu chaye ha'elam emalyoyna v'tachtayna. Now this has a lot in it. This includes a lot. Why is it called the Ava rooted in Memalekal Alman? That we have to understand. In other words, the language of Memalekal Alman, the Ava rooted Memalekal Alman, seems very mystical, very abstract. But really, it's a very clear idea. What's Memalekal Alman? Memalekal Alman means Hashem, the way he becomes the world. That's Memalekal Alman. Hashem, the way he defines himself as the life of the world. Not just of the world collectively, but of every single aspect of the world. That's why, as we learned in other Maimarim, Memalekal Alman is always about diversity. His chalkos. Because the chiyus in you is not the chiyus in me. There's the commonality. Va'ata mechaya es kulam. But the Va'ata mechaya es kulam is also very individuated. Because every single nivra, every single created being has its own purpose. And therefore its own function. And therefore its own design. And everything matches with each other. You can't compare the purpose of a black hole to the purpose of a little moss or a little squirrel that I was watching this morning eat food on Jacob. It has it's tachlis. Like the Baal Shem Tov famously said that even a leaf that turns over, right? You all know the words from the Baal Shem Tov, it turns over, is by divine providence. In other words, it's somehow part of the plan. You say, really? How is that exactly part of the plan? And the Baal Shem Tov's touched not just that everything is b'hashgacha, much deeper. In other words, not just there's a plan here, but that it's indispensable to the whole plan. It's not a mistake. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. No. It's indispensable to the cosmic plan, to the cosmic purpose. It's not just a prat, it's also part of the whole klal. I once heard from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he said over this word from the Baal Shem Tov. And he said that a good mashal for this is for aguta balabosta, which in English means a real housewife who has mastered the art of running a home, a balabasta. He says, you'll see, a real balabasta, there's nothing out of place in the house. If it's garbage, it has to go out. If it's in the house, it has a purpose, and it has its place. It's not there randomly. It has its function. Even a little, it could be you're putting away a screw because in 6 years you may need it. But it has its purpose. But he said, but a real balabast, it's more than that. And this was a very interesting, powerful insight. And I think a very deep sensitivity to the feminine soul, the Akeres Habayis. It's not just it has a purpose. Every detail is part and indispensable to the ganze mahalach from the shtub, to the whole picture of the house. Here's my explanation. Now, men are compartmentalized. In other words, by me, a drawer is a drawer. Where's the hammer? The hammer is here. Women are less compartmentalized. The house is one cheftza. It's one mitzias. Yeah? You know my clips about waffles and spaghetti, but we're not going to go there now so early in the morning. Yeah? Spaghetti, every strand of pasta is integrated with another 1,000 pieces. You don't have one strand of pasta. The house is the whole house. Every detail is not just it's here. It's essential to the ganze mahalach, to the whole house. Somehow it gives shleimus in the whole house. So that's the Baal Shem Tov's word. Not just the leaf is with a purpose. Every tnuah, every nekuda, every prat is indispensable to the whole inyan. So when you speak about mama, so that gives a whole different dignity to a person's journeys. Al pi Hashem yisu, al pi Hashem yachanu. Not just where you come, even the journey, the travel. The journey, the travel is the leaf rolling. Who cares? A little leaf. And by the way, there's a storm outside. So we wanted Hashem to make a storm, and the leaf shouldn't roll. If there's nature, when it's windy, the leaf is going to blow. How could both be b'hashgacha? But the Baal Shem Tov said, no, the wind is supposed to be. And the fact that the leaf is moving is not just a necessary result. What do you want? There's a system. The system is when this happens, this is going to be reacted. And nests in the tree are going to fall apart from storms. No, that itself is b'hashgacha. Kannst fragen, Reb Shloima.
They say today in science, if the leaf shakes over here, it affects the atmosphere.
Right, that famous line, you sneeze in Monsey and there's a hurricane in China. Yeah. Or I should say, Trump tweets in Washington und die ganze Welt wird Meshiga. But Mela, Trump is the president of the United States. He can take a say, B'shvili nivra olam, and he does. The Chiddush is, a Pashat Yid is walking to Shacharis on a Monday morning. He can also say, B'shvili nivra olam. My avoida, what's going to help, not help. I said Moidani in the morning, no big deal. But Hashem says that's a mistake. A person has to understand the indispensability of every moment. All of this is, what's the word? The word is mamala kalam. So mamala kalam and tied up in English, it's the way Hashem defines himself as the engine of the universe. That's a big deal. That's no small thing. To be the engine of the universe, you got to be pretty infinite. And not just the engine of the universe, the engine of every being in the universe. And hence, we call it mamale. What does mamale mean? As we spoke many, many times, it fills it. What's pshat? It fills it in spirituality. It fills it in spirituality means that's the teichen, that's the experience of the being. This is who I am. Mamale klamen is who I am. If I want to define me, and you want to define you, right? You say, this chiyus fills me. This becomes who I am. This becomes who you are. That's why there's diversity. There's commonality. We're all one and we're also all different. And both are essential. Because if we were supposed to be all the same, we would be all the same. But we know we're not the same. No two people think alike. No two people feel alike. No two people are alike. Including two snowflakes. Ain't Parshas and Shabbos, ain't Deis and Shabbos. That's not a mistake. It's not a random error. I wish you could be like me. That's essential to the kavanah. That's part of Mamala Kalam. And the way Hashem defines himself as my engine is not the way he defines himself as your engine. My soul is my soul. My guf is my guf. Our DNA may be almost identical, but the word is almost. And when people say details are not important, really, details are not important. What's the difference between you and a chimpanzee? How many details are different? You can look at the DNA, there's not many differences. But details are very important. They say the devil is in the details. What's the lashon? Huh? From a Jewish perspective, lahavdil, God is in the details. Study the genome, even a little bit, and you'll see if God is in the details or not. And ask a computer programmer if you ever read these back-end codes, yeah? Right? It's worse than a lot of Jewish magazines in terms of incomprehensibility. And it's cleaner, okay, thank you. You say no agendas, no politics. And you're reading, and I'm looking at it, I get headaches. I asked her, what if you would take out that crazy symbol that doesn't make sense to me? He says, you're going to destroy everything. You're going to destroy everything. That's how it works. A Z. Yeah. Try sending an email and just take out the dot. Just take out the dot. Right? Gmail.com. Who needs a little dot? Details? The devil is in the details. Life is not in the details. But that's not the case, because what looks to me and to you like a dot, from the programmer's perspective, is not a dot. It's somehow essential to the whole picture. So what we call nothing and insignificant and valueless doesn't work that way. From our perspective, yeah. But from the programmer's perspective, and here I'm talking about the ultimate programmer's perspective, and the metaphor is really good because DNA they call a program. It is really, all computer programs are a glimmer of a glimmer of a glimmer of a glimmer of a reflection of the ultimate program. That's what the Chazal mean. Today we can understand it, that the world is basically a program of letters, right? For thousands of years, it said in Gemara, in Medrash, in Kabbalah, in Chassidus, Dvar Hashem, the words give chiyus. Shara Yichud V'Amunah is based on this. Which words? What words? When words? Today, from a scientific perspective, if you want to describe the underlying reality of creation, they speak in terms of letters, in terms of words. It's fascinating. It's incredible. And when you go to that level, there's a much deeper unity, because it's basically, as we put it by us, there's the 22 letters of Aleph Beis, Shebehem Nivra Olam, with which the world was created. And the whole Sefer Yetzirah is based on this. But there's not one letter, there's 22 letters. 22 letters is the genesis of diversity. And those 22 letters morph into endless more letters, which is the genesis of all diversity. Starts with 10 Mamoris, which is 10 Sfiris. It morphs into 22 letters, and from there comes the whole diversity of creation. And therefore, my life and your life are one, but they're also different. So the love rooted in Mamalik Kalalman means what? The love to Hashem that's rooted in God becoming the core of me, the core of you. Hashem becomes the engine, the heartbeat, the chiyus, the life, the vitality, the content, the form, the functionality, the design, and the spiritual core and chemistry of every single nivra. You understand Mamalik Kalalman? Very important. Doesn't create shrama. This Mamalik Kalalman doesn't create shrama. This is the elevation, the validation of all existence as a symphony of God.
I'm sorry, Nefesh Elokis.
Yeah, the Nefesh Abamis is also Achiyas Elokis. The question is how concealed it is. Just like in science also, I don't see that I have DNA. You know when they discovered DNA? 1956. Mr. Watson, who was it? 1956. That's just a couple of decades ago, a few decades ago. So 5,700 years, there was a world, no one even had a hasaga. You know, they used to think that a cell is a little joke, like a cell is like a Chinese checker, like a pea. Today, a cell, the complexities that go into one cell is the most sophisticated machine in the whole universe. All of our machines that we create pale in comparison. It's one cell and you have 50 trillion of those in your body, 40 or 50 trillion of those in your body. But what's the point here? The point is that this is the chiyus of everything. The question is how much it's concealed, of course. That's why he says you need a lot of avodah, because I don't see this life force. I have to think about it. I have to learn about it. I have to study about it. That's why there's a maimer. If it would be visible, it would be a whole different story. Even in physicality, it's not visible. You need microscopes and better microscopes and super microscopes, and there's even things that you can't see. When it comes to the spiritual life, it takes tremendous training and awareness and contemplation to think in such terms, to reflect in such terms. That's the first love. So that love is a love to God, really, as a love of self. You say love God. You already love God. It's the ultimate love of self, which is ultimately the love of God. This is very, very important, because so many people in their mind, Avos Hashem and self-dignity is like a contradiction. And what the Baal HaTanya teaches us here, that in the first step of love, it's mamish, this is it. And it's really a pasuk in Chumash. La'avos Hashem Elokecha ki hu chayecha. But we teach ki hu chayecha Love God because like he's your life. In other words, he's responsible for your life. Huh? He gives you life. In other words, he's the big Uncle Sam. You got to love Uncle Sam. You know, he's paying the checks. It's the Shver who's sponsoring you in Kailul. You better love him. And if he says you're coming for Pesach, you're coming for Pesach. I don't care if you don't like me. So that's what the Maimer does. He's even in that Nekuda, you could learn the pasuk b'chitzonius. Love God because basically, if you don't like him, you're fried. You understand? It's the exact opposite of what he's saying. But you understand the natural conception is God is this big guy. He's bigger than you. What do I say? My tati is bigger than your tati. He's more muscular. He's more powerful. You better say you love me. Because if you don't say you love me, you know what I can do. Which is, of course, never creates love. It can't create love. At best, it can create dread. Not love, dread. Okay, so you're bigger than me, you're more powerful than me. Like a lot of people have such a relationship with their shver. Thank God, not everybody, but we have that concept. You know, he controls me with my money, and I have no choice. You want me to pay the bills? Kihu chayecha is not love him because he is your life, and therefore, you know, you got to be scared. So therefore, he's telling you to love, you love. La'avas Hashem alakecha kihu chayecha means that's yourself. You're not two separate beings. We have to stop thinking of God as God. I told you the problem with the word God is that it's a separate entity. The words that's always used in Likkutei is Ein Sof. What's Ein Sof? Ein Sof means the all-encompassing reality. That's what Ein Sof means, right? Reality. Huh? Yeah. Ein Od Milvado, exactly. In other words, it's not some being out there who has all the power and can send lightning and can send electricity volts. Rather, hu yizbarech hu atzmai hachayis shebekirbai ki hu chayecha. This self that you're trying to detach from him is like, God, leave me alone. Yeah? You got the wrong conception. This self that you love so much, your individuality, people say, especially young people, I want freedom. I want to be me. I want to self-actualize myself. Beautiful words. If you listen to commencement speeches at graduations, you ever hear in universities, right? The tycoons stand up and say, live out your dreams. Or graduation of yeshiva. Live your dreams. Don't listen to anybody's criticism, right? You know those speeches that they give to people? To go live their dreams. They're supposed to figure out what their dreams are and live their dreams. Self-actualization. So this self-actualization, you're like, God, why are you mixing into me? It would be mamish like somebody coming to the nutritionist or to the doctor or to the geneticist and he telling the person, listen, let me tell you a little bit about your genes. Let me tell you a little bit about your DNA. Let me tell you a little bit about the chemistry of your body. And the person will say, you know, I cannot deal with this. You tell my genes not to interfere into my life. And you tell my cells not to dictate how I live. And the doctor will look at him and say, Bubala, the genes are not interfering into your life. The genes are your life. You don't tell me, my cells are not going to mix in. Tell my brain to stop mixing in. They're not mixing in. That you is that your genes are your life. Tell God not to mix into my life. Which life? You are divine. That is your life. Kihu chayecha. It's like back to our refrigerator saying, you tell the electricity not to mix into my identity. Really? I have my own life. You get a life, I have my own life. Electricity, you get a life. Stop mixing into me. What's the life of the refrigerator outside of the electricity? You're a manifestation of the electricity. You could delude yourself, unlike a refrigerator. That's why refrigerators are better than us. And vacuum cleaners. You can delude yourself, but that doesn't change it. And that doesn't make you weaker. It tunes you in. It's called plugged in. It's not a curse for a refrigerator to be plugged in. It's like, stop repressing me. I'm not plugged into anything. Okay, you're not plugged into anything. So what are you? Garnished. A vacuum cleaner that's not plugged in, a laptop that's not plugged in, an iPhone that's chas v'shalom not plugged in. One of the worst crises. An iPhone not plugged in. What is it? Huh? Dead. Your typhus, this is the first Ava.
Goes a little bit about this.
What do you mean?
They did believe in Hashem because Hashem was not a tribe. So there's a conflict of separation into they want to be themselves.
Yeah. In Parshas Beshalach, right, we have a pasuk, the Jews struggle with Hashem, and what do they ask? Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu im oyin. Is God among us or not? What do you mean? How can they ask such a question? This is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the exodus of Egypt, a few days or weeks after the splitting of the sea. Like, come on. At least a year later, I understand, 5 years later, 10 years later. How? Epis abyssal seichel. Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu. Bikirbeinu literally means in the kishkas. Bikirbeinu, from the word literally, bikirbeinu, kerev, kravayim, right? V'chol kerev uchloyas. Kerev are the intestines, the kravayim. Bikirbeinu literally means in the insides, in the innards. Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu. Inside of me, inside, in the kishkas, in the intestines. Im oyin or not. That God can exist as some big superpower who is all-powerful, fine. But the Bikir Beinu is a whole different experience.
You're saying that even when they come out of Yitzhak Mitzrayim, it was a challenge to feel that.
Yeah.
Know that.
Yeah.
That economic element.
Yeah.
Yesh or Ayin.
Okay, there's the Taichin Likkutei Torah, if it's Yesh or Ayin, that's already Alpi, we learned if it's Yesh, if it's Ayin, that's already a much higher Indian. I'm not talking about that, that's, you remember the word, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im Ayin, if it comes from Ayin.
Does this love of Hashem always exist? And that you're just not aware of it?
Yeah. This love is it's natural. But to create that conscious awareness needs tremendous work. And awareness and contemplation.
Fight it. We fight it.
We ourselves fight it. What do you mean?
It's not that we're. I think it's worse than not being aware of it. It's that we've been enough to go against it, even though we struggle with it. That we deny it.
We deny what?
That we have this constant love for Hashem. That we have this dvekus, and that we are connected.
That's beautiful. You hear what he says? In other words, we fight it. We deny the fact that we're always so close, that we're always one. I deny the fact that I am divine. Because that means responsibility. It means I'm never a victim. It means life is good. Not easy for Jews. Not easy for Jews, right? It means you have nothing to complain. What are you going to do? It means you're successful. It means you're a powerhouse. This is not good news for the Jewish people. Madaf epis kvetchen abissel. I'm verhacked, I'm verjucked, I'm verdist. The system is against me. Like the guy said, just because I'm paranoid, it doesn't mean the whole world is not out to get me. It also means you're a free person. You think it's easy to be free. How many people left prison after 25 years and took their lives? How many people? In a tragic way, slavery was a comfort zone. They were there for 25 years, 45 years. It's the common things, you can read about it. They go out, they don't know what to do. I remember when Rabbi came out of prison last year, there was Hanukkah. So I myself got a lot of messages from people, you're a friend of his, make sure he goes to therapy. Make sure, 8 years, and he wasn't treated nicely. I was by him quite a few times. He was treated like the real prisoners. He wasn't in a camp Gan Yisrael where you walk around and play tennis and then work out for hours and then, do dvekas and then they bring in the cholent and then they bring in jalapeno herring, etc. Not that any prison is chas v'sholem good, but there's levels. He was a real prisoner. Like in the old days. So people said, therapy. So he came to see me 2 or 3 days after. So, Shalmar the Cherbashin is a ehrliche Yid. So he says, the Olam tells me I need therapy. The trachst dich daf? You think I need? Because I don't feel anything. I'm fine and this. I said, darfst. Somebody said, mir darf in therapy. But then I realized why. Because he never allowed himself to really go into prison. Even when he came in Lag Baimer, we had a Fabrengen in the tent. So every time he said when I was in prison, he didn't say when I was in prison. He says when I was in a place that many people call prison. So at some point I thought it's a mashagas. I said, could you just say when I was in prison? No. He says, no. 8 years I fought that. Do you want me now to change? 8 years I fought that. I was not in prison. I was in a place that people call prison. But it's a very powerful tool. It's not simple. It's easy to talk about, but experiencing it is a whole different tool. So for a person to be able to really embrace this is a very powerful idea. And it's very easy, as you say, to deny it. That's why he says you need an avoid and amal gadol. Huh? Yeah. He told me, he says, I said, what does this mean practically? He said, listen, I ask you a question. Hashem is also in prison. He's also stuck. I said, probably not. He says, well, I was one with Hashem, so I also wasn't in prison. But Tapshitis. Tapshitis.
Told the story where some guy told him that you're not really
Yeah. Like by me, he said, yeah.
They don't make people like that. It's like Jews in Russia.
Huh? Yeah. So it's a certain attitude. So Reb Moshe is explaining why, did I explain well what you said? Why people deny this thing. Huh?
I think it's like people feel that way when they're either living in the wrong neighborhood or driving in the wrong shul or something, because I go to a shul where people are into Hashem, into singing, into davening, into it, and it builds me up. If I was in another place, I see where it would bring me down. And so, we gotta build ourselves up and be around people that are gonna build ourselves up.
Yeah.
Like this year.
That's why you come here every morning. And that's why we come every morning to be with you. You have a good energy. Goes like this. Tov latzadik, tov l'shchena. That's why he sits near you. Mr. Jacob sits near you. Huh?
Let me help you. What I don't get is someone steals something into prison. You get a shock about that stealing?
No, we're not promoting that at the Shir. To go steal and end up in prison and say that God is there. It's not what we're promoting.
That happens.
A person could do tshuva. People make mistakes, yeah. People make bad mistakes. They do stupid things, and they end up in stupid places. But let's remember something. Ultimately, they're not in prison because they stole. You know how I know? A lot of thieves are not in prison. They're in prison because they were caught. So the question is why they were caught. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of thieves, some of you know them well, are not in prison. They should be. A lot of people who belong in prison are not in prison. A lot of people who have done some really bad things, I'm not talking about money, other stuff, are not in prison. Other people are in prison. They were caught. The question is, why was somebody caught? That's already not a question of law. That's already a spiritual question.
It's in love.
This you have to ask Rabashkin. I don't know why. I can't answer why. I don't know. This one goes through this one. Oh. Do we know this? Do we understand this? Ata Yodeya Razi Olam. Right? You know the secrets of the universe. Moshe Leib Sosov said, the secrets of Torah, there are some Jews who know. The secrets of the universe, Ata Yodeya, only you know. Nobody else knows. It's a very powerful idea. We say in the confessions, Yom Kippur, Ata Yodeya Razi Olam v'salumay sisrei kol chai. You know the secrets of every living being. Secrets of Torah, there are some Jews who merit to know, at least many of them. But Razi Olam, the secrets of the world, that only you know. Even great people don't know it. They don't know. They don't always understand. There's a lot of things about people's journeys that are inexplicable. You look at two people. This one's journey is the same, grew up the same, but it's not like they're very different in so many ways. But their journeys are so different. And their struggles are so different. And this is not connected to things that people know. Like we learned in the Maim and Mizmor Shech Chanukah Sabayis, right? About Shikha, you remember? About Miyodeya, things that are beyond us. Ratzon l'Ratzon, right? It's not always clear if you look, this person belongs here, this person belongs there. Okay, so this is all a summation of the first love that's rooted in a Malak Alma. So try to work on this love today. Okay? To be able to reveal it. Yeah. You don't have to create it. You reveal it and accept it and embrace it in a deep way. And then we could maybe be ready for the next love. Next love is already a whole different level. Have a wonderful day. And a loving day. Love and feel loved. Today, may you love and feel loved.
You as well.
Whole premises of this mind, it's all based on, but it's so simple. People love their life.
Yeah.
You see today that people,
Yeah.
many people struggle with that.
Yeah. They don't love themselves. Yeah. Nu, was sagst du? Says this is all if you like yourself. You love your life, and then you could say your life is Hashem. Yeah, he's mamash amal the pshit. It's not even a shaila. Yeah, not even a shaila that a person loves his life. And you're saying so many people.
That in itself is a lesson.
That what?
You have to see your value. That's teaching our value. Because it's a proper question. We're busy. How could I love myself? Look at me. Look what I've done. The Baal Tanya is telling you, l'chatchila, there's no such thing.
Beautiful. Very good, Moshe. I didn't know. You opened the... Yeah. Yeah, gewaldig. I was always looking for a substitute. Zog's good. You understand what he's saying? He's saying, let's ask a person, let's go back. Why does a person not like himself? And you will discover... Moshe, I'm going to explain what you said. Say that.
So that you can
Then you can
understand.
internalize it to me.
But I can't live it for you. Das kann ich nicht. Go back and try to figure out why any person says, I hate my life. I wish I can die. I hate every moment. I dread waking up in the morning. And you'll discover something very powerful. That is not embedded in their very nature. There's something behind it. There's some deep, deep experience, encounter, trauma, abuse, circumstances, of course. Inside or outside, right? That is causing it. You look at a baby, I'm talking about a healthy baby who's nurtured, who's protected. There's a love of life. Look at the 3-year-old kid eating ice cream, right? Playing Lego. The 2-year-old riding their bike, running around in the grass. There's a love of life. How does that change?
But again, you're making an exception. I'm talking about a healthy baby.
But again, no. If a baby is locked up, chas v'shalom, and being abused, they snuff out from them their soul.
Things like this happen.
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
About the 60-year-old that's eating the ice cream.
You? Gewalt? Okay, I'm happy about the bike.
I don't have to worry about
Gesundheit. No, I'm trying to say that children have this natural innocence and fun of life.
Joie de vivre.
Huh?
Joie de vivre.
Yes. Yeah, the joy of life, yeah. As the French say. The French try to continue. No, I'm bringing out a point. When you sit with somebody, we'll say, if you'll see someone say, I want to die, hate my life, you say, maybe you can go visit a therapist. Why? Because we recognize that it's not the natural way, that there's something off about it. We want to help the person. Why do we want to help the person? Why, if somebody wants to jump off a bridge, do we call the police? We fight him. Why? Because we all as a society, even from a secular society, certainly from a Jewish perspective, recognize that there's something sick about the person. When somebody says, chas v'shalom, they have cancer, or they have a heart attack or a stroke, we put them in the hospital. We don't say, okay, let's celebrate it. We recognize that there's something, unfortunately, dysfunctional in the body that needs urgent help. We all recognize that. You don't say, you're sick, great, die. When somebody says, I hate my life, I want to kill myself, we recognize that there's something so wrong. We want to help them. We say, can you go talk to somebody? Why am I sending you to talk to somebody? Because we all recognize that it's not supposed to be that way. It's an aberration of life. Something is missing. And therefore, we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to find out what is it. And we will find out that it is something connected to, there's something about me that I hate. There's something about me that drives me crazy. Maybe it's an endless shame. How many boys or girls who were molested live with shame and they can't live with it, they have to die. Because they look in the mirror and they see the worst monster in the world. I can't live with a monster, and I'm the monster, because they blame themselves.
It's not their fault that they were in that circumstance.
No, we're not blaming.
Hundreds of kids.
Right.
Suicide.
Exactly.
Not only the world over, even in the...
Yeah. And even suicide is what we hear about. And what about the drugs before the suicide?
The suffering until the drugs.
And the suffering before the drugs.
So it's not such a Muslim sheet that like she is whining.
So Reb Moshe is saying, So Reb Moshe is saying, what's the ultimate antidote to this? When the person realizes that the real self you can't hate. The real self you gotta love. That's the ultimate antidote.
But this very Ein Sof has created the circumstances of that. So you mentioned kids being abused. It's not their fault. They didn't choose it.
100%. They didn't choose it.
They know they went home from Cheder.
They didn't know.
And the rest of their life, they would have to start.
They didn't know. They didn't know, right. And our job in society is to be able to be those people who show them that love that they deserve. That's our job.
Put them in the first.
I can't answer that question.
I'm just saying,
sorry.
I think before that line, it's some.
On the society level, it's a very hard thing to do at macro level because you want to provide for people.
It's like every bad thing.
They're lacking something.
That's
Instead of actually getting to true selves, you create social
negative
grade,
one,
which is a form of slavery.
They never had a chance.
Because it's in a way the same thing as a comfort zone.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. What's the hope for such a type of person?
Before we go to the hope and to the healing, I know there is hope and healing and recovery. So these people started off negative.
You're right. You're right.
Starting off without
Their self-perception is already traumatized. And that's if there was abuse. Yeah. And sometimes it's different types of trauma. It's not always abuse.
So you mentioned abuse. And what if people in dysfunctional families?
Dysfunctional families, yeah.
Or poverty, or
Yeah.
bullying, or there's a million things.
But it's and what's the bottom line of all of them? I hate my life.
But they never had a chance.
Or executives sometimes who are making millions and commit suicide. They also hate their life.
It's definitely or probably connected to childhood trauma as well.
Citizen Kane. Huh? Rosebud.
What's a habit of Hashem?
Rosebud.
Meditate on how you love yourself. Some people start not directly the question. So these people have never have a chance. Not to
did. Correct. So what's the question now? It didn't, and that's right.
And I think that's what you said, right? The most powerful teaching one can give such a person, and we can give ourselves, is this statement.
in the healing, to strip off and get to the bottom of it.
You are the divine light in this world. That's who you are. That's who you really are. And nobody can take that away from you. That part is not vulnerable for somebody to take away from you. You're not a little vulnerable shmata that because I punched you physically or emotionally, you're done. Just like Titus. Titus stabbed the Parshas of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It started to bleed and he said, I killed God. When Hitler and Himmler and Eichmann and Mengele sent the Jews into the gas chambers, they didn't think they were sending Jews into the gas chambers. They were sending God into the gas chambers. And every time 500 or 20,000 Jews were gassed in a day, God was gassed in a day. Of course. That was the venom. I mean, of course, they wanted to exterminate every Jew, but it was deeper than every Jew. They wanted God in the gas chambers. And when they burnt Reb Chanina ben Tzadin in a Sefer Torah, they didn't want to only burn Reb Chanina ben Tzadin. What did they need a Sefer Torah for? They wanted to burn God. The abuser, right? He cannot destroy God, and therefore he cannot destroy you. I don't know if there's too many more healing ideas in the literature of healing that you're going to find. Why I have to go through the pain I have to go through and rediscover that? That's a big question. That's bigger than Rabbi YY answering. You know that. We all know that. And I'm not going to answer the question, but I do want to say that the fact is that somebody who discovers this through pain owns this in a way that nobody else owns it. Not that I could say this justifies a kid being abused for 3 years, chas v'shalom. I'm not saying that. I don't know God's mind, why he allows all that and other evil in the world. I don't know. But I do know that people who go through their struggles and then discover this, when they discover this, nothing is going to they own it. It's theirs because they had to fight for it. They didn't just look in the mind, very nice, next. No, it's not next. They stopped. They went, 10 years, they had to work on it. When they own it, they own it.
Ramban says that the main Mora, the Ramban says that the love was also Mora.
Yeah.
Mora healed Mora, not...
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Ramban Vikisa, yeah.
Theory is that everything that Hashem...
Homeopath.
Theory is that everything Hashem does is for the good. So, it's B'diavad, but is being talked about, but we got to go from there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
try to lighten up the world.
There was a young man who was suffering from homosexual tendencies. Very intense ones. He penned a heart-wrenching letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, 1986. The Rebbe wrote him back a 3-page correspondence. Very, very powerful letter. I read it once, I saw it once. One paragraph startled me. The Rebbe says there, the boy wanted to know why he has to go through this. He says, I don't know. It's certainly part of the mysteries of life and the mysteries of divine providence. But then the Rebbe added one point as a possible suggestion generally. He said that sometimes a person possesses inside of them a light that is so powerful that it can change the world. But the only way the person will be able to uncover that secret power and call it their own is by being compelled to overcome some major challenges in their life, which without it, they would never be able to discover the truest power of self. I was reading it, and I thought to myself, many people would speak to such a boy and sadly and unfortunately feel disdain, like ich. Others, many more hopefully, would feel empathy. Empathy. What did the Rebbe do? The Rebbe said, wow, what a gift. The crisis became an opportunity. The challenge suddenly was a catalyst for your ultimate realization. Now, this is not a lack of empathy. It's not like he didn't start off the letter that way. First he said, I don't understand. Because if you right away start off, oh, you're cursed? That's wonderful. Then you'll lose the person. But it's the ultimate empathy. The ultimate empathy is that you're not a Rachmanis case. It's not nebach. There's empathy, I'm so sorry. But the ultimate empathy is empowerment. The ultimate empathy is that you're an ambassador of God and you were sent to places where nobody else was sent because of the magnitude of your potentials that are completely on a different magnitude. Such a Rebbe you want to have. This is such a romantic morning.
You see people, you know.
I know why, because tomorrow is my birthday. So you're feeling it.
Secular birthday?
No.
So you have to celebrate.
My Jewish birthday. My B'Shvili Nivra Ha'olam birthday. Oh, I didn't even realize I was quoting Michael Savage about birthdays. That was mamish unconscious. Mamish unconscious.
Say this on the Rabbi should have all over.
I know.
But you only heard it from.
I heard it from Michael Savage.
That's why the Rebbe was also into birthdays, no?
The Rebbe was into birthdays, I know. That I heard from the Rebbe. That I didn't need Savage. But this Vart, the Rebbe spoke a lot about the day you were born. But this Vart, that the day that you were born is the day Hashem said the world can't be without you. And Savage he says, you sometimes hear a man of God. He says, you hear wisdom, real wisdom. He says, this, you know how he speaks. He says, this line can't be said by anybody. He says, sometimes you hear a line, you know, this is a holy man, a holy man. He said this on the radio. I turned it on. I'm like, wow, it's so nice to get a Shia Chassidus. Yeah. Usually I go into a car, they're listening to me. I don't like when people listen to me in the car when I'm there, because it's hard enough me being me. I don't have to listen to me. So I like to turn on other things. I don't have to hear me. I know, you know what I mean. It's nice to go out of my brain a little. So I turned on Savage. I thought maybe, you know, he'll curse out somebody in a geschmacka way, and I'll be distracted for 20 minutes. And suddenly I hear, I want to tell you a line that somebody tells me from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I guess we'll know when Mashiach is here, when any station that you'll turn, you'll hear Eined Mulvada, you'll hear from the Rebbe, you'll hear from this one. Then you'll know that Mashiach is here. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Switch from 770. New religion.
Okay.
For me, from Shabbos.
Ben Shapiro, ja, is Afromayid. Hij geht toch met Hayamel kan, hè?
Yeah, it's always there.
Okay. No, I don't think so. Oh, really? Okay, so why not? Why not?
They go to Chabad school not because he's a wedding, because nobody else accepts him.
Everybody have a wonderful day. A lot of Hatzlacha. Memalik Kalalman, yeah? Memalik Kalalman. Verstehst?
We have to celebrate your Bishvili.
Okay. We're celebrating right now. What's the best way to celebrate? Das is L'chaim. What's L'chaim? L'chaim is to life. It's just L'chaim. Tell me schnapps is better than this. Okay, but you know, right? It's better than this. Das is L'chaim. Adarabe, but I can't push nicht trinken. I have, it's one of my dysfunctionalities. Ich kann nicht. Es ist zu bitter für mich. You say, mit der Fieber kommst du. Ich kann. Okay, we'll continue the next subject. Was macht er? Bruchim Abayim. Engländer? Von wo kommt... Is dat gewesen einmal, ne? Alte Chaver von Monroe. Bruchim Abayim. Wo wohnt er jetzt? Okay. Eved Melech. Beautiful. Eved Melech, yeah. It's a Gemara in Shavuos. I think Mem Zayin. But Rashi is Eved Melech, yeah. The Moshe is the Melech, because he's the Eved Melech. Yeah, that's the idea. That's what Bittul is. Bittul means you become a conduit for the king. The Gemara says, Man Malki Rabbanon. Real Rabbanon, real Talmud Chacham is the Melech. Because if you become one with Torah,
Yeah, I was learning that yesterday morning, a week behind with Rashi, so.
say you're good. Shekoyach Reb Aaron. You know, Reb Aaron, okay, I should really announce it when everybody is here. Reb Aaron posts on the yeshiva.net every day a outline of the shir in English, and Reb Israel posts the whole shir in Hebrew. Yeah. So if you want to review it in writing, Reb Israel posts every day on the yeshiva.net the whole shir in Hebrew. Even the day before the wedding. The day of the wedding, not yet. Mahal Cheshbon. So Reb Aaron Yeshikoyach. That way I go back and I see what I said.
Sometimes I miss the idea, I just put down
Okay.
the idea, I don't really understand it.
Yeah. Don't worry, I also don't understand everything.
This class is brought to you by the yeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.